thank you everyone for taking the time to come. It's really exciting to be here, and I'm very grateful to the Jentel Arts organization for facilitating all of us to be here today. Let's see, my first slide. This is from my website, and it's kind of a logo that I came up with because for so long I had a really hard time answering the question, what do you do? And I finally got to this place where I was like, I can try and embrace having what I call a Swiss Army knife kind of life. In addition to being a writer, I also run a ranch in Winthrop, Washington called Spring Creek Ranch. We host guests all year long who come from all over the state of Washington and the world, really. I also have worked as a birth doula, supporting pregnant people prenatally during labor and delivery and postpartum. And I'm very active in my own community. And then the Pulaski, which is the tool at the bottom, is a axe-hoe hybrid, and it's one of the favorite firefighting tools in the wildland fire world. And so I've chosen that. And my next slide is just quick. This is a photo of the ranch that I run in the winter. It's a cross-country skiing mecca, and people come to cross-country ski. It's our old barn that used to be a dairy barn. And then my fire world. Okay, so I came to Jentel to work on a book that I'm writing, a memoir about growing up in New England and coming out west to a very different world. And I got my first job on a district fire crew near where I'm currently living, and then progressively kind of worked my way up to becoming a smoke jumper. Even just today I was asked, do you need to apply to different crews? How does that work? And yes, just like anything else, you sort of start at the bottom, which is usually a type 2 district crew. And I worked there for 3 years, and then I went to a helicopter rappelling crew. So we had 2 different kind of helicopters. We were trained how to rappel from the helicopter to remote wildfires. I also worked on an engine, like a wildland fire engine. And then I went through rookie training to become a smoke jumper. So this image is inside of the plane. There's a spotter whose hand you're seeing pointing down at the fire. And then depending on the plane and the weather, the smoke jumper planes can carry anywhere between 8 and 20 smoke jumpers, depending on the aircraft and the conditions. And so typically you'll go to a fire. There's a lot of kind of orbiting until the plan is made, and then the spotter is the person that decides with the pilot where the actual jump spot's going to be, and then you're sent out. Well, that's me. And that was a photo taken my second year smoke jumping. This is a picture taken underneath the plane. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Typically, smoke jumpers jump because there are no roads or infrastructure. This is a practice jump. So a lot of times there's practice jumps around the base. So there's roads and the airstrip you can see. This is another photo of jumping, but I chose it in particular because if you look really closely, you can see the previous jumper's blue and white parachute down here, so to get an idea of where you're going. And in this case, there's not a lot of trees. It's a pretty open landscape, which makes it easier to navigate. In Montana, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, it's very tends to be very forested, and sometimes the jump spots can be certainly as small as this room. So it's just kind of an opening in the trees. And so there's a lot to learn about how you navigate to get your parachute and get down into the spot. And then, of course, the work begins, because really this is just a mode of transportation to get down to the ground. And then after the jumpers get to the ground, and you can jump as few as 2 jumpers at a time, so there can be a 2-person fire, or you could jump an entire full load of the plane, so you could have 20 people. Sometimes you get down to the ground and the fire is more complicated or bigger, has more potential for growth, and so you can ask for an additional plane load. And so the plane will go back to the base, load and return. If the base is jumped out because there's a lightning bust, they there's like a reciprocal program within all of the Forest Service bases. So like if the Grangeville smoke jumper base in Grangeville, Idaho jumped out, they could ask for more jumpers to come from McCall or Missoula or Boise. And then this is how we get our cargo delivered, by paracargo. So after the jumpers jump, the spotter pushes cargo out of the plane with these cargo chutes that are smaller, but same idea. And there's fire, so everything gets dropped to us via paracargo. There's a firebox that delivers enough food and materials to sustain 2 people each for roughly 48 hours. We can ask for a chainsaw to be dropped paracargo, and so that also gets pushed out. Extra water can be pushed out with a cargo chute as well. This is actually a photograph of a burn. So you can see the person is carrying something called a drip torch, which has mixed fuel, and so they are dripping out this sort of, you ignite the drip torch and then the fuel carries, it's like you're dripping fire on the forest floor. This looks like a beautiful underburn with ponderosa pine, and if I had more time, I would talk about good fire and all the reasons that we need fire, but I'll take it to the next slide. Oh, so this is me pregnant with my first daughter, and I was working that summer in fire prevention, but I also had a job managing helicopters. So this was a helicopter that I was managing. I put this in here as a cue to remind myself to talk a little bit about women in fire. Probably the most famous piece of literature written about wildland fire is a book that is actually titled Young Men in Fire by Norman MacLean. I'm sure many of you have read it. It's a beautiful, beautiful book that's about smoke jumpers, and in particular, the tragedy of the Man Gulch fire that happened in Montana. And, you know, the history of women in fire is interesting. And part of the reason that I decided to write the book that I'm writing is because when I was writing the book proposal to sell the book, I called back to the base. I rookied in Missoula in 2002, and I called back to ask them how many women had completed rookie training that year. Because the year that I rookied, it was myself plus one other woman who completed rookie training. It was in 2002, so now we're fast forwarding 20 years, and I was expecting a pretty substantial change. And they put me on hold. They had to go talk to some other people. When they came back, they reported that one woman had completed rookie training. And the base in Missoula is also special because they train smoke jumpers from multiple different bases. So West Yellowstone smoke jumpers, Grangeville smoke jumpers, and Missoula smoke jumpers all trained together in Missoula. So over that particular season, there was one woman. But as you can see, I'm already at my 2 minutes. That's my husband, Darren, I met on a fire, a wilderness fire a long time before we had Ayla. That's my oldest daughter, who's now in college. So my husband was also a career smoke jumper and ran the base in Winthrop, Washington. There's a smoke jumper base there now. Oh, that's my last slide. Whew!